So who is Southern Cross Gold? We came out of a Canadian-listed company called Mawson Gold. Mawson is listed on the TSX. It is run by an Australian, but has been working in TSX markets for a long time. Mawson picked up the current Victorian assets that we have in January 2020. And we did that through doing a deal with Ngambie Resources in USB stick. USB stick, bottom one. So we picked up our assets in January 2020. Lo and behold, the pandemic comes along. So we were able to get through that pandemic with our little piece of paper because the Victorian government actually had exploration as an essential service. So we weren't curtailed from drilling. So over the last 18 months, we've done 33 holes so far reported. And we've had, in that period of time, 13 above 100 gram metre intercepts at the Sunday Creek project alone, which is one of our 3 projects, which okay, let's have a go. There we go. All right, so I'm not going to go on this, but anyway, 3 things actually very quickly. 75 million ounces still in the ground. Fosterville, okay, epizonal. All right? They're going to come up again and again. Okay, where are we? In Victoria, we do have the Mount Isa property. That's the last you're going to hear about it. It's off to the side. We think we've got probably one of the best drill discoveries in Victoria in recent times. Grade width continuity, and as I mentioned, 13 over 100 gram metre intercepts at the Sunday Creek property on its own. And we're fully permitted. All right? We own the freehold at Sunday Creek around where we're drilling. And the team is experienced and has been together for a very long time, and I'll talk about that. 3 properties. So down the bottom here, Sunday Creek. Up here, there's Melbourne, 60 kilometres north of Melbourne is Sunday Creek, an hour's drive away, more or less. The Hume Highway cuts through the property on the western side here, all right? Very easy access to get to it. Then we've got Redcastle and Roo. Okay, and then the next thing, Fosterville, highest grade gold mine in the world. Costerfield, 7th highest grade gold mine in the world, and the 5th largest producer of antimony in the world, which again I'll get to in the end. And then Sunday Creek down the bottom here, as I mentioned, we own the freehold. We own this particular project 100%, 70% at Redcastle, earning into 70% at Roo. The joint venture that we have is with Ngambie Resources. Ngambie mine is here. This brown bit here is part of the 3,000 odd square kilometre right of first refusal we have over their tenement. So a lot of deal flow in that particular area. The other thing to say is that a lot of the information about the highest grade gold mine in the world, 7th in the world, doesn't really stay here in Victoria or Australia because they're owned by Canadians. Okay, the Victorian gold sector is dominated by Canadians. Mawson is a Canadian company, and we've spun out of it to try and bring these assets back into the Australian market so that Australian investors can participate in it. Okay, here we go. So on May 16, we listed. On May 23, we made our first announcement, which was 17 metres at 5 grams per tonne. And then a week after that, 2 weeks after listing, we made the announcement we had 119 metres at 3.9 grams per tonne gold equivalent. So therefore, that gave us a bit of attention that you may have seen, and also put us in as the highest intercept in Australia on the Australian market for that particular week. So it was a pretty nice way to start our life. No one-hit wonder though, okay? So here is just a chronology. All these drill holes around here are the combination of Mawson and now Southern Cross Gold that we did since early 2020. These dots are the plus 100 gram metre intercepts that we've had at Sunday Creek alone. The 5, these are historic, but these 8 are our own. Newmont says that if they have 300 gram intercepts on their property, they believe it's a bona fide discovery. We, on our own, have made 8, but we've got a total of 13 at Sunday Creek. So, zooming in a little bit into the Sunday Creek property, Up again on the map, just to let you know, there's Sunday Creek here. This particular plan view is just the top bit of the central area. These are soil samples. So the brighter red, higher grade soil samples. We're down here, just drilling in this little area, which is about 800 metres across. Basically, this larger rectangle is the freehold that we own in the 100% owned property, but this mineralisation extends for 10 kilometres beyond where we're drilling already. We're going to get a resource down here, but there's all this area up here which has not been drill tested, not a single drill hole in it, even though there is historic workings all throughout this area. So plenty of upside in just this one part of one of our properties. Okay, long section of, again, that little dotted square that you saw before. It doesn't really come up too well, it does kind of on the screen. This here is an old working, so all our three properties were in production in the 1850s. In that very high production period of Victoria, at the very beginning, all three properties had gold production in that time. At the Sunday Creek property, this is the old Golden Dyke mine. This section is about 200 metres wide, and they had about 20 stopes in this area alone. And they produced, I can't remember how many tens of thousands of ounces, at around about an ounce a tonne. There is a dump, like, you know, a tailings dump at this site, which is running 4 grams per tonne. All right, and we own it. It's on our property, all right, like our freehold. Anyway, you go across 800 odd metres and you get to the Apollo shaft, again, an historic operation. This is where we've been getting a lot of, obviously, the good hits. This is where we think we'll get our maiden resource from within the next 12 to 18 months. So once again, each red dot is just one of those really high-grade hits that we've been having. And again, this one here is hole 33, which was the 119 at 3.9. It was infilling 2 other holes which were about 120 metres apart. We've got, we did 10 holes during our IPO process, so we continued to drill throughout the IPO process, halved the cores, kept them in reserve. May 16 we list, probably in the afternoon, May 16, that core went to the assay lab. That's how we got those results fairly quickly. We released 6 holes of the original 10. We've got another 4 to come out in the next week or 2, which again will be around about this area. And today the drill rig is running, has been running for the last little while, for hole 38 in around about this area. So we are just constantly drilling, and to give you guys the constant news flow as to what's happening at our properties. I won't go too far into it. This is on the website, so you can go, and again on the website you'll get your more technical stuff if you don't care about the spivvy stuff that I'm talking about. But basically Victoria has that attitude, thin, narrow, high grade, nuggety, don't like it. What we're doing here, demonstrating that we actually have width, okay? We're getting some wide intercepts with the grades at those wide intercepts which aren't too bad, all right? But also we are getting some grade, really high grades, and at widths which aren't too bad either, okay? I mean, obviously there are still some, the 0.4 at 177, but, there you go, all right? Now, everything there was Sunday Creek only, all right? This one is at Roo, and if you can remember back, that's the northernmost property that we've got, just northeast of Fosterville. Again, historic mine. This particular area here is the old Balaclava Open Pit. It's a tourist attraction. You can go there and have a look. You look down. If you're a bit dodgy, you can go caving, which the government doesn't like, but people do YouTube videos of it. It's very claustrophobic, I tell you. And because they're going in through these old underground workings, okay, dropping down into the open pit and then going through the underground workings. So this was 1850s. This was one of the very prolific historic gold mines of that era. Now, the other thing I forgot to say was that back at Sunday Creek, we're down here Golden Dyke was about 180 metres, Apollo Shaft about 100 metres. Couple of factors, water table, sulfidic rock. A lot of this is oxide, okay? And just the general technology of the time. And then also the actual time. This was still in production in the early 20th century, but then the First World War comes along, Western Australia comes along, and that was in the other slide about the history of Victoria. West Australia comes along, everyone goes away. And then everybody goes and fights in the war, and when they come back, Victoria's not such an attractive place anymore, so it got forgotten about. So therefore, depth, at the same issue with Roo, was just that combination of those sorts of factors, harder rock, technology, water table, meant that, and they actually did a bit of a bugger up because they decided that after doing the open pit, they would dynamite underneath to get to the higher grade stuff in underneath here, and basically everything just fell in, and that was the end of the mine. So anyway, come 1970, ICI and Newmont stick a drill hole in to test underneath the pit. Reasonable results. I can't remember why they didn't go ahead. Newmont, other things to do. We come along 50 years later with this particular drill hole 200 odd metres below, and we hit basically half a metre at 50 grams per tonne. So once we made an announcement yesterday, we've got a second drill rig that's coming in 2 weeks' time, predominantly to work on Sunday Creek, but we will go back up to Roo and start putting a few more drill holes in to test this particular occurrence. The initial thoughts are that this looks a little bit like Costerfield, which is, as I mentioned before, poo-pooed a bit, but sort of thin, high grade, but Costerfield is thin, high grade and goes forever, all right? And so therefore we're going to be testing the continuity of this particular strike going forward. And that's part of, here we go, the update. So we've got, as I've mentioned, a couple of holes in there. We're going forward with a bit more, and with the second rig that we announced yesterday, we're going to be able to speed things up a bit. Now, I mentioned a couple of gold equivalents. Is that, that's the general plan again. Won't go too far into that. Gold equivalent, the equivalent is antimony. It's a critical metal, very similar to some of the other stuff that Owen was talking about. The interesting thing about antimony, it's on the list for the United States, the EU, Australia, Canada as being a critical metal. It's used in armaments, which is a bit typical today. But there's also, potential for batteries, fire retardants, other industrial uses. But it is dominated in production and reserves by China, our friends China, Russia, Tajikistan there, Bolivia, Kyrgyzstan. Australia is the first sort of Western Tier 1 jurisdiction that has both resources, reserves, and production of antimony. And as I mentioned, Costerfield, just up the road from us, 5th largest antimony mine in the world. Here's our team. Now, the one thing I want to just really point out, first of all, there's Uncle Mick and Auntie Joan of the Tungarung, traditional owners. This was at our smoking ceremony, Welcome to Country, we had in December. We've got very good relations with them. But the next point I want to make is this is Michael Hudson, Managing Director, who's at PDAC today, which is why he's not here. 30 years ago, this man here is called Tom Eadie, former chairman of CSIRO. Tom hired Mike at Pasminco 30 years ago. David Henstridge, director, has worked with Mike for 20 years at Mawson. Nick Cook, chief geologist at Mawson, was the guy that found 1 million ounces of gold. Technical director, 15 years with Tom, 15 years with Mike. Newly listed on the ASX, not a new company, all right? And then last but not least, we do other nice things, okay? We take people on site visits. We're only 60 k's away from Melbourne, right? If you want, come to booth 8, let us know. We'll put you on the list to come and do a site visit, right? We give away free beer mugs, okay? And then we get nice comments, okay? I like this one here, fun site visit. Hashtag fun site visit. We do nice things with using recycled plastic for our core trays. We work with the Tungarung. This is an archaeological dig before drilling. They also rehabilitate. And I've got 1 second to go. Lisa won Exceptional Woman of the Year award. Okay, she's our general manager. And then, there you go. you can get that off the website. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nick. It's terrible. I feel like the school principal with the bell having to get people